So I hope you are able to hear me. So first of all, a very good evening to everybody, and I thank everybody to join us today for this session. And happy to be spending the Sunday learning something new. So I'll introduce myself. I am Shalini Kumari, a Azure developer lead from the Mathura region, and today we have our speaker Bharat Kumar, who is like a DevOps practitioner at Tata Consulting Services and is also certified in three different Azure exams like AZ 900, TP 900, and AI 900. So, hi Bharat.
Hi, Shalini. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just
Yeah.
like before getting started, I will have an announcement like for all the participants that we have today that we will be having five Azure passes worth $100 for the most active participants. So if you are over here, be active, like show us like your activeness in the chat. You can ask different questions or be like just show your presence. So yeah, that is one quick shout out I would like to say to everybody today. And yeah, let's get started with Azure storage session. So yeah, over to you, Bharat.
Yeah, thanks, Shalini, for giving me a good introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, I am overwhelmed to hear because on this Sunday, people are, yes, they are thinking to learn. It's kind of a good thing to know. Like everybody is who are aspiring to learn is coming and joining this live session. So yes, it's very happy for me. And without any delay, we can start with the session. Okay.
Absolutely.
So yes, I am Bharat, as Shalini said. I am working as a DevOps practitioner in Tata Consultancy Services. So my work experience is around 3 years, and I have cleared four Azure certifications like AZ 900, DP 900, AI 900, and AZ 104. So yes, we can start with the session, actual session. So yes, what is Azure Storage? Do anyone have any idea on this? Can anyone give answers for this? Like if you have any opinions or any guess itself fine. I don't want the exact answer. I think, does anybody? Okay. Yeah, no problem. So yes, let's start with this. So what is Azure Storage? Azure Storage is a Microsoft provided cloud provided storage solution in where we used to store all the kinds of data, like whichever data, like whatever is data today, like photos, information about me, information about anyone in the world, information about the environment, information about the automobile, everything is completely data. So what is Azure Storage? Azure Storage is a Microsoft cloud storage solution. So, and we next go with the question like, what is cloud? Do anyone have idea on it? Let's make this session interactive, guys. I want you to answer these questions. So yes, please. Can anyone say what is cloud? Can I know how many of them have joined this session? Okay.
So let's give them some time to write the answer in the comment section.
Sure, Varun. Yes, we can. Random access to resources. Shubham. Yeah, I'm expecting more replies. Anyone else? Yeah, you're somewhat closer, Shubham. So yes, let me go with the answer. So what is cloud is delivery of computing resources through the internet is called as cloud. So yeah, Tarun, it's great. Gaurav, storage of data on a remote server. Yes. Yeah, I think there is a pretty latency in my network. I'm getting the answers for my first question. Okay, no problem. So I'll wait for some time. So what's cloud? Okay, okay. So I'll go with the answer. Now, what's cloud is delivery of computing resources. Like what are all the computing resources you know? Like storage is a resource, storage and networking is a resource, and random access memory is a resource. Then processor is a resource. So all these kind of things are provided as a service through internet. So wherever you are there and your computer will be located in some other part of the world, through internet you can access that resources. So this is the basic core idea of cloud computing. Do you agree with it? I'm expecting comments. Okay. Yes, so this is called as the cloud computing. So next we go with the benefits of Azure cloud. So like other clouds, what is special in Azure cloud is Azure cloud is an enterprise cloud, like which is offered by both the it's a combination of both Microsoft and Azure. If you go with GCP or AWS or Alibaba Cloud, they don't have any that much strong legacy in computing resources. Like if you see my Azure have the Microsoft legacy. Microsoft is the one of the best operating system provided when it was started, and so it has a strong legacy and it have a strong background. So in enterprise level, if you see, Azure is one of the most preferred cloud by the MNCs and the clients who are using the Microsoft enterprise applications. I guess no one in the world who are all using the computers should have used the Microsoft Office package. So yes, it's the integration of both Microsoft and cloud services. So this is one of the famous cloud, and with no doubt it's one of the great service provided through the cloud. So coming to them, like if you are already a purchaser of some good uh, Microsoft resources, like if you have purchased some Windows OS and you have a license for it, let's say I bought a Windows OS which is 5 years with the 5 years of validity, and if you are going for the cloud, you are going to the Azure cloud and you want to create a virtual machine, but you don't want to buy a Windows OS for it, so you can reuse the license key which you have bought in your computer, and you can use that license key in the virtual machine, which is two in one usage. So this is one of the main benefit of Azure cloud. And compared to the like other clouds like GCP and AWS, what is special in Azure is the data processing speed and the data processing capacity is more in Azure. And also, like Azure uses many, like till date it have around 780 plus third-party software services which are hosted in Azure. So you can make use of those softwares also. Like for example, some messaging services can be integrated with this Azure services. So yes, these are all like inside Azure. If you see, means Azure is a cloud infrastructure which is made up of resources. So what is a resource? Resource is nothing but your component which you are going to use. Like mm, if you are going to use let's say in the layman term, if you are going to use some virtual machine, then it is a resource inside Azure. It will be called as the resource. Like I wanted to create a computer which have 2 GB of RAM and let's say 256 GB of hard disk, and with Intel Core i5 and 7th generation processor. So all combinedly, it is called as the virtual machine, and this virtual machine is called as the resource inside the Azure. So whatever things or whatever services or whatever components you are creating inside the Azure is called as the resource group resource. So all these resources are clubbed into a logical grouping called as the resource group. Do you have any doubt in this? Like anyone? I'm seeing the comment section. Okay, so let's come to the benefits of Azure Cloud Services. So Azure Cloud Services are like highly durable and highly available. Highly available in sense, wherever you go, like they have. How does this things work? Cloud is nothing. No one can think that cloud is a virtual environment. Something is running in the cloud or sky. It's funny thing, right? No, what is actually cloud is like I want some resources. I can rent those resources. I mean, hire and rent it, hire on the rental basis, and I can use it for some time. If I don't want it, I can decommission it throughoutly. I don't. If I don't want that resource, what can I do? I can say, don't. I don't need these resources. So no longer I'm going to pay for the resources which I am not in need. So this is one of the benefits of the cloud computing. So another thing is like. If you are creating a resource in some part, let's say West US or let's say North India, you're creating a resource, and you can be sitting in some part of South India, and you can use the resources which are deployed and which are available in the North US region. And according to Azure and Microsoft service level agreements, these resources are always it's agreed by the Microsoft and Azure that these resources are always highly available at the rate of 99.95 percentage. Maximum of all these resources which are available under Azure are always available for 99.95 percentage. And if this 99.95 percentage is reducing to some level below that 99.94 percentage, you can claim the amount and Azure will not charge you for that. So it's highly available. So it's the Microsoft's headache, and it's the Microsoft Azure's headache to keep that what to say the resource highly available and secure in sense, anyone have answer how does the resources are interlinked in the cloud, or how does the resources are communicating between the users like us and among themselves? Does anyone have idea? You can post it in the comment, guys. Yes, it's obviously through the wires. Like, but the thing is, I am creating a virtually. I'm thinking that okay, why it's connected through wires. Like, if I want to communicate between the West US and South India, like in Mumbai, there is a data center located for Azure. I'm having my SQL server at West US region, and I'm having my API at what to say South Indian region in Mumbai. Let's say these two things want to communicate. How will it communicate? Okay, no idea, Tarun. Yeah, let me explain. So this communication is will happen on the virtual network. So I think you people have some basic idea of virtual network, so I no need to go deep dive into it. So let's say, mm, so whatever the resources or the computing resources you are creating in the Azure, it's open to internet. All the resources which you are going to create inside Azure is open to internet. So is it a public network or a private network? Any idea? If it's open to internet means it's available publicly or it's private. I'm not getting any replies. Okay, correct. It's public. So yes, whatever the resources you are creating in the Azure is available to the internet means it's available publicly. You can access those resources publicly. And if you don't want someone or if you want it to be highly secured, meant it's our duty to protect those resources. So it there are some level of protection. There are some security levels which we need to protect it. So just in layman terms, if you say if you are creating a resource in Azure and something is not working means like what to say, it will be like it's our duty to protect our own resources. Like if I'm having a for example, let's say if I'm having a SQL server which is handling the data of credit card details of some customers, and this credit card details, even though it's encrypted also, everyone can decrypt and use the data. So I don't want any of the user to access my DB and use that get the data from the SQL and don't want to decrypt and see the data. So what should I need? If I'm creating a SQL server in Azure means I need to protect that SQL server. So how can I protect means I can write a firewall for that SQL server. So for writing that firewall, we need some other resources in Azure which will create a entire architecture of the software. Okay, so this is how the things are working in Azure. So how it's secure, that is the second point which we have put in the slide, which is secure and scalable. Let's say like if you are having a VM instance which is running your front end application web server, like say some JavaScript application. For example, okay, 1 minute. I will always use the example slide. So this is our this is our example. Let me say, like we are having a client, or like let's say I'm having a web server, then I am having the application server, then I am having the database servers. Like our web application is a three-tier architecture. For JavaScript, the front end we are handling it in the one virtual machine, and the back end, the business logics. We are handling using any languages like Java, Python, or C Sharp, anything. We are handling it in the we are hosting that in another virtual machine, and our SQL server we are handling it in the another virtual machine. So like what's meant by scalable is if high level of traffic, let's say for example, if your people are expecting the board results of your class 12 or senior secondary, anything, like what will be happening is at the time of releasing the results, everyone will be hitting that the web application, and it will be loaded heavily. So what's scalable is at the time of loading heavily, it should create a it should create a copy of the same web server, and it should be managed to split the traffic among the web servers. So the latency will be very good. I mean, you will be getting an easy there will be no delay in receiving the output from the backend server. So this is called a scalable. So this is how the scalability of the Azure services works. So always keep in mind, I will use this three-tier example for delivering my things, whatever I have prepared for this Azure storage. So accessible means it's accessible over the internet, and the accessibility is also secured, and we need to secure it properly. So this is the accessible thing, which is the benefits of another Azure cloud. And there are a lot more benefits. Like if you are start using those Azure cloud, you will be knowing what are all the benefits that we have in the Azure cloud. Okay. So any doubts here? Okay. Uh, any doubts? Okay. Let's go with the storage account next. So yes, what's a storage account? Mm, basically in Azure, if you want to store something, uh, the mandatory thing which we used to have, which we need, is a storage account. Okay, this is if we require the storage, we need a storage account. This is somewhat mandatory if we need to store something. So what is a storage account? Storage is account is a cloud solution for storing the data in Azure cloud. So inside the storage account only, we will be having multiple kinds of storages which are present in this storage accounts. So how can we access this storage account, Bharat? If someone asks, I want to access this storage account, and say like if someone is using our website and they want to access the some of the data. For example, I am running a website like Spotify, and what we are doing means like someone want to access this song and stream it online. So how will we access it? So that's how it's come into picture. With it will be accessed like we are having a web application. Behind the storage account is there, and we want to access this data which is present in the storage account. Let's say it's a song, and we need to stream that song means through this web application. So basically what will we have, we will have a authentication page. Then after authenticating into this page, the user will search for the song, and the song will be available in my server, and it should play. Okay, this is how it plays. Let's say this song should be available inside the storage account, and if the user streams, it's easy to stream it. So strong and or these are data which are unstructured data, songs, videos. These are all unstructured data. And for this accessibility only, it can be accessible to the protocol. Like you people, I think you people know about HTTP and HTTPS protocols, hypertext transfer protocol. I'm not getting any yes or no. Yeah, Gaurav, I will come to that point. What are all kind of data can be stored? Actually, Gaurav, there is no limit for on storage accounts. There is no limit. I will come to it. I'm just saying how to access this and how to identify this. Okay. So you want to name your storage account, and then there is some naming conventions, and the string length of that storage account should be within 26 characters. So these storage accounts can be accessed through its endpoints. The endpoint name will be like, for example, I am creating a demo storage account. Okay, the storage account name is demo storage account 01, and the endpoint, how the endpoint will be there means https colon double slash demo storage account 01 dot blob dot core dot windows dot net. It will be the endpoint for accessing that storage account. Do you got this point? How the storage accounts can be accessed? Ravi Kumar uses only SSD. Actually, no, Ravi. Actually, Azure uses both. Uh, the hard disk drive and SSD. It depends upon the tier. Like if you are opting for tier one, I mean the premium tiers means there will be proficient for SSD, and if you are opting for some low level tiers like tier 4 or standard or basic tiers, something means there will be it will be HDD only. That can be seen in the price calculator of Azure Storage accounts. So yes, let me cover. I'm having all these points in my slides. Let me cover one by one. Apart from this, whatever area I have covered, do you have any doubt on those things? Yes, correct. The pricing will be different for HDD and SSD. So okay, so how we are going to secure the storage accounts? Let's come to that point. So there is something called Azure Directory. I mean, the Active Directory. Do anyone heard about this Active Directory? Um, I'm expecting some replies. What is Active Directory? Okay, Gaurav. So yes, what is Active Directory means? Active Directory is something which is used to, uh, which is an identification and access management system. I mean, identification and the access management system in sense, like let's say you people are working. I mean, studying in a college. Okay, you people are studying in some college, and there will be a unique roll number for you. Let's say everybody like let's say Tarun is studying in some university, and let's say whatever I will say he's studying is in Banaras Hindu University. Okay, so let's say inside the Banaras Hindu University, like what will be his let's say his joining year is 2018. He's joining a BTech computer science in 2018. So what will be his roll number will be, it's 18. 18 is the year of joining, and uh, for computer science branch, let's say the course code is I mean the program code is 04 or 05, anything. Let's say it's 05. So 1805, and his according to the roll number in his class, out of 80 or 70 members, Tarun may be at somewhat as 40. So it will be 1405040. He will be his roll number. So this is the unique identification given for him in the Banaras Hindu University for doing a course. So like the same way, Active Directory, I mean the Azure Active Directory will have a unique ID, which is nothing but our email ID. Okay, the email ID will be there, and this email ID will be mapped with some GUID. GUID is nothing in sense; it's a random character. Okay, random string. So it will be unique. The GUID generated will be unique. So the Gmail ID or the email ID will be mapped with the GUID, which is a unique ID, and this is called as the object ID. So for every user, an object is created in an Azure Active Directory. This Active Directory can be linked to any of the subscription or any of the managed accounts. Using this Active Directory only, the authorization and the authentication is set in the Azure Storage accounts also as well. So what you means, like if you go into any of the Microsoft pages, it will ask you to sign in using the Microsoft ID. You will give your Gmail ID. So that is an example for Azure Active Directory. Active Directory is nothing but it will have your unique email ID, and it will map it to your object ID. So only that it will refer the object ID only. If the object is having certain permissions, it will use that. So this is what Azure Active Directory is. So anyone have Azure doubts in Azure Active Directory? It's used mainly for authentication and authorization purposes. Okay. Amit, anyone, like, are you clear what is Azure Active Directory? If you go deep into it, there are many concepts in Azure Active Directory. So you can manage the Active Directory in two sense. Like you can manage it in on premises, you can manage it in cloud. So yes, there are lots of things. Okay, let's go quick for the next topic. Then the next is RBAC. So what is RBAC means? Uh, I think you people have studied SQL and you have heard about this. RBAC is nothing but the role-based access control. Like, uh, for example, let us say in a company, like I am from the accounting department and you people are from the technical department. Okay, so if I'm having the web application portal, which is the employee management system, okay, and for the company, so I want to view some accounting detail for my company. It's not necessarily, it should not be viewed, or there is no work for the employees who are working technically. Let's, for a software developer, don't have any work on the accounting system. So there is no use of giving the accounting information to the technical people. So what should be used? The person from the accounting team can only use the accounting data. So that table in the database can be accessed only by me. So that is what RBAC means. So for my email ID and for my Azure Active Directory ID, the table, accounting table, will be given permission. I can read it, I can write it, and I can execute on this table. So this is an example of role-based access control. Same thing is will happen on the Azure Storage accounts as well. So next we come to the SAS token. SAS token and shared key are similar. SAS, what is meant by shared access token? Shared access token is like if we are using the database and some other external team want to access our database through some APIs, means they need an access token that is called as the shared access signature. That shared access signature can use in the API to access our DB. So that shared access signature is also will also have an object ID, and for that object ID also we can create some roles. Like these are all the roles only can be performed by that object. That also we can define. Okay, so that's how the SAS token works. Shared key is nothing but for the entire storage account we have a shared key. If we want to connect it to our any of the application like a web app or API app, we can use the shared access key and we can do any sort of operation inside the storage accounts. That is called as the shared key. And encryption, transport level security, private endpoints, or nothing but uh, see, for every storage account you will be having a public endpoint, which I stored in the previous slide. It will be the storage account name that blob.core windows. That blob will be replaced by what kind of storage we are going to do. Next we come to the encryption, means all the data which is stored in the storage account will be in the encrypted format, and there are some tiers of storage also. If like for example, if I handle there are three kinds of tier, which is hot, cool, and archive tier. Okay, like in hot tier, if you are storing the data, means so that the data is accessed frequently, so those kind of data only you can store it in the hot tier. Like if you are not accessing the data so frequently and it's accessed only like monthly once or sometime once, you can store it in the cool tier. And if you are not even accessing the data but you just want the backup of the data for the next 90 days, you can zip it and you can have it in the archive tier. So these three tiers have a different type of costing in Azure. That's how it's different. Like if you want to reduce the cost for the storing the data, means then you need to optimize all these things. Okay, then come to the encryption. All these tiers have the data stored as its encrypted format. Then what is transport level security? So transport level security is nothing but while we are moving the data from one application to application, it's moved as the packets only. The data will be moved in packets, and these packets should be if any hacker is trying to hack the data in the transport level security, means it should not be what to say, it should not be visible for the hacker. So enabling the minimum transport level security, that is called TLS version. So this TLS version supported by Azure is 1.2, and it uses some cipher v algorithms. So there are some set of algorithms which will encrypt and transport the data, and it will send the key as well. So the destination will receive the key and it will decrypt the data and it will receive the data. This is called as transport layer. And there are some set of algorithms used by every versions of the transport level security. I mean the TLS versions. It will be said as TLS versions. So private endpoint is nothing but if you want to use the storage account, it should not be available across the public, means you can have it in the private endpoint, which will be not available in the public internet. So this is called as the private endpoint. So anyone have any doubt on this? Okay, let me quickly jump to the next slide. So what's the next slide here means what are all the type of Azure storage we can do in the Azure storage accounts? There are, five types of Azure storages. One is blob storage. The second one is file storage. Then we have queues. Then we have tables. Then we have disks. Okay, so let's first start with what are Azure files. Azure files are nothing but it's kind of a FTP server. Like if you want any file shares, like you are in a company, okay. Uh, sorry, Ravi, is AD a standard across the cloud? No, actually, AD is supported by Microsoft. You can use it in both AWS and GCP. I don't know. I'm not pretty sure much about the other clouds, but this AD can be used across the AWS and what is that? GCP also, because this is a Microsoft SaaS model, software as a service. So you can manage a server, AD server in on-premises as well as in cloud, and you can use it across the cloud also. There will be a service provided by AWS for Microsoft AD. You can use it. Yes, Ravi, it's a nice question. Good question. Yeah. So yes, let's come to the Azure files. Let's jump back. Uh, if you are working in a company and there are around 500, 600 developers in the company, 500, 600 people in the company, around which 200 are developer, like 100 are testers, and some 50 are working in some other team. So let's say, like if I want to, for all the 200 developers, I need to install some IDE. For example, I want to run my Visual Studio IDE in my machine, means I no need to go and download it and install it every time. Instead, you can put it in a shared file, which is called as a FTP server, kind of FTP server, and you can use it. Or let's say another example, if we are getting a new laptop for some newly joined developer. So what the developer should use means he or she should be able to install the OS. So where we can have this OS. So for this we can have this OS in the Azure files. Azure files is nothing but a place where we used to store all the executable files, and it can be attached to any other computer or virtual machines. Like at the time of requirement alone, we can attach it, and we can, if it's not required at the next moment, we can unmount it, and we can keep it at the safe side so that it can be reused for the many times. Okay, so this is what's the main use of Azure files. And let's say we are creating a new VMs, and I want Linux OS on my VMs. Okay, like for example, in the Linux kernel, upon the Linux kernel, we are going to run Ubuntu or Fedora or Kali Linux, anything we are going to run. Okay, so I can have the image of that Linux version inside the Azure share files, and I can while creating the VM itself, I can connect this Azure files to that VM image, and I can install the OS or any version of Linux in that VM. So this is the main use of Azure files. It's one kind of storage in Azure. So do anyone have any doubt on this Azure files? Uh, I couldn't see any reply. I'm moving to the next slide. So next is Azure Blob Storage. So what is blob means? Binary objects. It's called as blob. So, what is a binary object means? Azure Blobs is one of the main. I mean, I can say it's one of the specialized area for Azure, which uses Azure only uses blobs. It's used to store the unstructured data like photos, videos, songs, everything. We can store these blobs inside the Azure Blob. Like all the unstructured data can be stored and it can be accessed, like for example from our previous example, we are creating a website like Spotify and we need to play some podcast or song which is recorded inside the Azure Blob. We can put it inside the Azure Blob and we can stream it whenever needed for by the end user. So this is the use of Azure Blob. So I will explain more about Azure Blob at the last, because this is one of the main concept and this is one of the unique concept in Azure. So let's go with the next concept. So the next type is Azure Disks. Azure Disks is nothing but like if you are installing a Windows, I mean, if you are installing a Windows OS in your laptop and you want to create some partitioning of your hard disk, means you will be creating the Azure Disk. Okay, what that is similar to Azure Disk. So what Azure Disk is like this partitioning of hard disk. You will have Azure Disk separately, which is like it's separate service offered by Azure. Whenever you need some we are creating VM is equivalent to a computer. Okay, whenever you are creating a VM, inside that, if you want an extra disk, if you are so see, for example, if you are buying a computer and you are having 500 GB of hard disk, and you are partitioning it into two parts, let's say 250 and 250, two parts you are splitting. But within some day, what happened, all both the 250 gp, that means the total 500 gp is getting filled and there is no leftover space in your disks. Okay, so what will we give? Either you will go with the upgradation of your uh, hard disk, or you will buy an external hard disk. So Azure Disk is simply like that one. You can't in cloud, if you are having, means what you have to do means you need to buy an external disk and you have to attach into to your VMs. So you can it can be used. That is the use of Azure Disks. uh, and the thing is, what is the difference between the Azure files and Azure disks is Azure files is shared among like many number of VMs and many number of resources, but the Azure disk is only relevant to one VM. So this is the difference between the Azure files and Azure disks. So anyone have any doubt on this? Hello. I think no one posted in comments. So can I go with the next slide? Yeah, I'm moving at the next slide. So let's, yeah, Milan Singh. My next topic is Azure queues and Azure tables. Okay, Gaurav, if you use Azure Disk, are there any extra advantages? No, there is no extra advantages. That's also like what I'm saying is, like if you are using a virtual machine and your memory is occupied for whole 500 GB or 200 GB, which you have provisioned at start of the creation of the virtual machines, and now you need extra memory to be attached to your virtual machines. Let's say you have installed inside your virtual machine. Let's say you have installed all the software development kits, some many things. Okay, so your disk is occupied fully and you need to install any new software inside the virtual machine. Means what will you do? Where will you have the part? I mean, where will you have the space for installing that software? Let's say you are going to, you are at the school level and you are willing to play the GTA Vice City game. Okay, like, and your disk is completely full with the software development kits and everything. But you want to jump back to your school days and you want to play some GTA Vice City. Where will you install the GTA Vice City? You need space for that, right? For that only we are using the Azure Disk. So there are no extra advantages, but the Azure Disk is uh, see. However, the Azure will cost based upon the billing, and the costing will done based upon the operations you are performing on the disks and files. So whenever you go to files, you won't perform any frequent operations in the files, Azure files. But you, if it's come to the Azure disks, whenever you are using your virtual machines, you will be performing some frequent operations in the Azure disks. So it's based upon that plan. So that's the main difference, Gaurav. So Milan, yes, Azure queues and Azure tables. Yes. So what's Azure queue is a asynchronous message queuing system. So anybody have idea on the term asynchronous? So what's the meaning of the word asynchronous or asynchronous? It okay. So yes, asynchronous is since if some I'm the sender of the message and you are the receiver of the message. Let's take it for example. Bharat is the sender of the message and Milan is the receiver of the message. Okay, like I am sending the message from one end without receiving any acknowledgement or without knowing that my message has been received by Milan. This is called as the asynchronous. I want if something doesn't block current execution state. Yes, correct. That's also like streamless flow. I mean the streaming will happen without any disturbance. The flow of messages will be streamlined and there will be no disturbance. It the sender is not worried about the sent messages. So this is the term asynchronous means. I think hope you guys get it. And if you want uh, more clarity on this, you can just ask. This is called the term asynchronous. So Azure queue services is used for asynchronous messaging queue, and the maximum size of the message can be 64 kilobits. So this is one thing which we are blocked in Azure. And if you want some bigger message to be processed, there is some other way called service bus. You can use that. And if you want to know more about service bus, you can go through the service Azure service bus. It's one of the messaging system which is used by Azure. It's like particularly used for messaging service solution. So that is where you can find the difference between Azure queues which are used in storage and the Azure queues which are used inside the service bus. So let's come to Azure Table. Azure Table is nothing but like it's a conventional SQL data, no? MongoDB. Like if you want to NoSQL data can be stored in the Azure tables using the key value pair and some, for example, address books like this is my name is Bharat. Like that, you can have the duplicate data and duplicate data. There will be a key assigned for the whole record, and you can access the record using that key. So this is how the Azure table works. Azure table is conventional one. You can use the Azure table wherever you want. It's in say the function. For example, you are writing a web application and you are writing a mobile application and you want to access the contact list from the user end user and you want to store the contact list inside Azure means the best option I would recommend is Azure tables. You can access the contact from the users end users mobile phone and you can store it inside the Azure tables. So this is one of the best example I would say. The phone number is the will be the key and the name will be the key value pair. Let's this can be used in multiple use cases like Truecaller, some phone identification apps like etc etc. So this is what we use for Azure tables. Then I'm going to explain more about the blob storage. Let's say the blob storage, we have the object storage solution, and it's a object storage solution in sense you can store all the unstructured data in the Azure blob storage. As I said previously, like songs, photos, movies, anything, videos, anything can be stored inside the blob storage. So how the blob storage works means, inside a storage account you should create a containers is nothing but a file directory or a directory which you are used to create in the windows, like inside a what to say, inside a partition you will create a directory, right? That directory is, container is a logical group of this all the files inside the storage account. So that is called as containers inside the storage account. Inside containers only you can create a blob. Okay, so okay, what there are three kinds of blobs. What are the three types of blobs? Are blob, upon blob, and page blobs. So okay, for example, blob is nothing but it's a text and binary data. For example, if you wanted to store some JSON data which can be sent as a message for some other web application they want to use it, I'm talking it in a higher level. So this web application can use the JSON object. It can agree the JSON object as a message, and it can open this JSON object, and it can read the data object. So this is called as the blob. Next is upon blob. Upon blob is a combination of blobs. What it will do means, let's say if you are using a virtual machine, and this virtual machine you are logging in at 8 a.m. and you are logging off it at 12 p.m. I mean 1 p.m. Let's say. Till that, the logs of the virtual machines are collected in a blob. I mean the upon blob, and again you are logging in at 8 p.m. in the night. So where the logs will be get recorded, the logs will be get appended to the other blob itself, because creating the another blob is kind of redundancy, right? It doesn't actually, technically it's not redundancy, but it's a kind of redundancy. Having multiple number of files inside the same container is kind of also a redundancy. So what you can use the append blob. So mainly it's used for logging purposes. Then we come for the page blobs. Page blobs is nothing but it can access the files randomly, like in previous example we have seen the Azure disks, right? In that Azure disk, we have used the virtual hard disk only. This virtual hard disk is written on page blobs only. So whatever things you are saving inside the virtual hard disks, the page blobs is only used, and this page blobs can is helpful for us to access the files randomly. So this is one of the so the searching and the random algorithms which you are searching for is maximum optimized to the core in the page blob. So these are all the three different kinds of blobs we use in the storage and blob container. So anyone have doubt on this topic? So yes, I am done with my presentation. So there are a lot more to talk about storages in Azure. We can talk about the networking part of the storage. We can talk about the security part of the storage. We can talk about the mm, what to say, the optimization in the storage. We can talk about many things inside storage, but due to time constraint, I have presented only this much, the main concept. So anyone have doubt on this? If you have any questions you can ask me now. Yeah, you can post your questions in the comment section. So yes, I can answer those questions. Is the Cosmos DB called under the Azure Table Storage Balancing? No, actually, Cosmos DB is a separate service. So yes, Cosmos DB is a separate service. It doesn't comes under the storage. It's a database service offered by Azure. So it may be weird to tell that even the Cosmos DB also used to store the data only, but it comes under the database service under the Azure. So Cosmos DB is one of the unique kind of DB. I mean the document DB which is used by Azure. Inside Cosmos DB, you can use various APIs like you can use SQL API, you can use MongoDB API, you can use many kinds of API. So Cosmos DB, that's a different topic. We can cover it in the different section, Milan. I think we can wait for questions few more minutes.
So we have a question from Gaurav. How can we prepare for fundamental certification? Any guidance, please?
Yeah, like you can use the Microsoft Learning Path for preparing for the AIZ 900 exam, which is very much useful. Uh, that will be the most. I will suggest everyone to read, to use the sandbox, to read and understand things. Don't watch some videos. Like if you are comfortable in watching videos, also do read and go and watch the videos. Okay, like you will have some sort of understanding in your mind and by reading it, and the video provider also gives some suggestions so you will get a better clarity. So first of all, use the Microsoft Docs, read about it, complete all the units under the Microsoft AIZ 900. There will be a Microsoft certification learning path, and there will be units and there will be chapters inside the unit, and you will be given a clear cut timeline for reading all the chapters, and you will get the Microsoft points for going through all the things, and you can do it like it's very simplified format, and you can use some sandbox testings also. So that's how I will suggest you to clear the Microsoft AIZ 900 fundamentals. Don't follow dumb skies. It's my kind advice. Don't follow it for sure. I have interviewed many persons who have followed the dumps and there is nothing for them. Like they don't know anything.
Thank you, Bharat, for this wonderful session today. It was very insightful. I hope
Yeah,
all the participants learned something new today. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll see if there are any further questions later on. We also have a Discord server. So yeah, hey everyone all can join our community over the Discord server, or
yeah.
if there can you put a link on the chat if possible? One. Yeah. And once
Sorry,
again,
Shalini, I couldn't get that last part. What were you saying?
oh,
Your voice is
sorry,
too low.
uh, is it fine now? Hello?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, please.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I was just saying thank you, Bharat. It was just a very lovely session, and I hope participants would be going further, learning more, and as you mentioned,
Yeah,
trying on hands. That is literally what gives you
yeah,
the learning. So yeah, absolutely. We can conclude. I guess we are already on time. So yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Bharat.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shalini.
Thank
And all the
you.
best, guys, for your future career. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and for as our host already announced in the starting that we are going to have a Azure passes giveaway worth $100 each. So I would request all of the participants to kindly ping us on the LinkedIn ID which is being displayed on your screens as well as in the live comment section, and then you'll be eligible to get the Azure passes worth $100. And if someone don't know, what is the use of the Azure passes? Let me tell you that whenever you use some kind of resources from the cloud provider, they charge some money. But for the student, it becomes really very difficult to pay such high cost. So you guys can use these passes and you can utilize the resources of $100 for free. You are going to get the advantage of using those things. You can just create some really nice projects, showcase them in your resume. You can just showcase them on your CV, and you can learn a lot by practical, as you know. So you can surely ping us on LinkedIn, and you'll be getting the Azure passes worth $100. And thank you very much, sir, for coming here and spending your Sunday evening with us and delivering such a nice session on Azure Storage. It was really very insightful session. So thank you very much, and hope to see you for some other sessions with another topics.
Sure, sure, Tarun. Yeah, I will be available and I will be giving the sessions as well.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us and being such a lovely audience. Thank you everyone. Till this, till then, stay safe. Tata, bye bye.